Hey everyone, and welcome to We Can Be Heroes. This is part of my LinkedIn newsletter, and I'm thrilled to have Eco-Hero Maya Penn with us today. Maya is a 3-time TED speaker. I saw her speak in 2014 at TED Women and was blown away. I have a copy of her book. She's a best-selling author. She's also an animator, a fashion designer, a sustainability consultant, and an entrepreneur, and a wonderful, wonderful person. Maya, thank you so much for being with us today. And we just want to hear more about you. If you could just kind of introduce yourself and tell people how you got involved in climate change and sustainability.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the amazing intro, Heather. So I am a 23-year-old environmental and climate activist. I have been in the space since I was actually 8 years old. I started in 2008. And I got into the space. I've been in the space for 15 years now, which is so hard to wrap my mind around.
So you're 23 now.
I'm 23 now. Yeah, I just turned 23 in February. Yeah.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you so much.
Please,
Yeah,
it's just fun to hear 15 years when you start at 8. For most people, that's the story that they say.
I know, like, it's definitely like, I think it's definitely a really unique perspective. I started because, well, one, I've always had a huge passion for the natural world and environmental science. Like, I was just always that kid growing up who was like sharing facts about like endangered species of animals, or about biology and just different stuff like that. And I grew up in a kind of eco-conscious household, and I knew at an early age also the impact and the importance of giving back to your community and to the world in general. Like, some of my earliest memories are of me and my parents collecting canned goods, and clothing for food banks and homeless shelters here in Atlanta. And, I've just always had that passion to help make a difference in the world for people and the planet, and ecosystems and animals. And so, kind of fast forwarding to when everything really started, I started my own sustainable fashion company called Maya's Ideas in 2008 when I was 8 years old. And this was before sustainable fashion was anywhere near a mainstream topic, of course. And I just wanted to really shine more light on the importance of that, and creating more sustainable alternatives within that industry. And then in 2011, I launched my own nonprofit organization called Maya's Ideas for the Planet, which is more humanitarian, environmental justice focused. And, we do work both in the US and also Haiti, Senegal, Somalia, Cameroon, etc. So I've always been really passionate about focusing in on the more underserved issues within sustainability. And really everything kind of evolved from there. As you mentioned, by the time I was 13, I had given 3 TED Talks. The TED Women Talk went viral worldwide. It's been translated into, I believe, like over 100 different languages now. And, it's just amazing to see how much everything is snowballed to me, writing a book, speaking all over the world, especially at schools and youth organizations across the world. My book being actually used as curriculum in schools around sustainability and giving back and social entrepreneurship. And also there's just so many kind of other layers, but I know we have a lot of other points to jump into. So
Oh no, Maya,
it's
so amazing. And for me, it was exciting to see in real time you speaking at TED. That was just really fun before it went viral to actually be in the audience. That was so exciting. If you could tell us a little bit more, so we've heard about, you have a nonprofit, you have the sustainable fashion line. Can you tell us a little bit more about your upcoming projects and what you're most excited about?
Yes, so I'm excited about a lot of projects that I'm working on, but my main project, of course, has been my animated short film, which is titled Asali, Power of the Pollinators. It is an action adventure environmental short. It is a story that I originally created when I was 11 years old. And, since you saw my TED Women Talk, I actually premiered a really early clip I did when I was like around 12. Like, I premiered a clip of like a concept of it then. So seeing it come to life now, and it's been a project that's been in development, and seeing it come to life now and so much excitement around it is amazing. having now EGOT, Viola Davis, her husband Julius Tennant, and their production company Julie Productions as executive producers is an amazing blessing. And, I'm really excited for the fact that I'm able to do this independently through my production company, Penn Productions, especially since we're so focused on collaborating with, women and Black, Brown, Indigenous, and disabled and LGBTQ plus artists within the, within the animation and creative community, and to bring this project to life. And something that really led me to, to do not only this original project, but also focus even more in using animation as a medium for speaking on these important topics, is in 2016, during the Obama administration, I was actually commissioned to animate the opening of the first ever digital report presented to US Congress. And this was to
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow, tell us more about that.
yeah. So I was 16 at the time, and this was during the Obama administration, and this was the first ever digital report presented to US Congress. It was actually to get an American Museum of Women's History built in Washington that's going to be part of the Smithsonian family of museums. And so like I said, I went to the Capitol at 16 after I created this animation, and it was talking about the importance of showcasing the stories of women in American history and what they've contributed to this country. And that's something that I really knew, and seeing how that's affected and helped impact this ongoing project, seeing that I think really even more solidified the power that I already knew that animation and art in general had to impact the real world. And since then, I've worked on other projects with Hulu and GoDaddy. Like I did a piece for Women's History Month for them, and kind of so on and so forth. Most of my projects are focused around social or environmental topics, even when it's a collaboration with a company or a nonprofit. So now I'm really excited to do my own original IP, and I'm also going to be premiering a teaser of it at South by Southwest on the 13th. So I'm really excited.
Fantastic. Congratulations to you. And is that part of the 1776 Foundation? Will you be working?
Yeah. So that's part of 776.
Oh, 776.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. 1770. Listen to me. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
76.
Yeah, that's part of 776 and what Sahanian's doing. So that's really cool to share that on the main stage with everybody.
Well, Maya, you've just, at 23, you've done so much, like a lifetime for so many people of accomplishments. And it's not just accomplishments in the resume building sense, it's impacting people. It's having people think differently. It's inspiring them. It's giving them hope. It's this canon of work that you have is already so incredible. Can you tell us a little bit about like the best advice you've gotten, whether it's life advice or career advice? I'd love to just kind of hear what you want to share with others.
Yeah, I mean, there's honestly the best advice that I think that I've gotten has come from my mom, who this was shared to me when I did my TED Women Talk in 2013. But I obviously at the time this had been like the biggest like stage I ever spoken on in my life, and there's just, you have so many different emotions and everything swirling around. And, my mom has always, said to me, because I think people worry too much about trying to get past their fear and their anxiety, and in a way that can be sort of unhealthy. And my mom has always just said, just do it afraid. Like, and I think that has always really helped, inspire and motivate me, because I've now learned that the greatest, speakers and thought leaders and of our lifetime, everyone gets nervous, like you're a human being, unless you're an alien or a robot or something, you have to get nervous. And this doesn't just apply to speaking, this applies to anything. And I think that when you feel that sense of that nervousness, the fear, the what if, the doubt start to creeping in, you really have to be able to coexist with it, and also understand that, when you're really on the precipice of doing something important that is really going to be powerful, that can make a difference in the world, that feels pretty big. but you have to kind of get out of your own way and understand that a lot of this is bigger than you. Because, I know that a lot of people who will be watching and listening right now are also, in the adjacent to environmental and sustainable, in that space. And I think it's so crucial to remember the mission and the why. It's not just about you and what people think of you. It's about your passion, your message, what you want to leave people with, what you want to accomplish with this project, or starting this new business, or starting this nonprofit, or reaching out to that person, or sending that email, or making that social media post about whatever it is that you wanted to share. I think even if it feels like a big step, you have to keep in mind you're part of a bigger web and connection of change makers and passionate people who need your voice, need to hear your voice. And it's not about getting over it. It's about embracing the fact that, you're a human being and letting that authenticity shine through. I know that was like super long, but I really like
Love that. I mean, do it afraid and understand that you're part of something bigger. And sometimes it is bigger than you. I think that's such important guidance and advice for sure. And I love that it came from your mom, as a mom, especially, and having met your mom. I love that. I love that too. Thank you so much, Maya. Just a couple more questions too. I'd love to just know if you could talk to us about a surprising fact, like something that somebody wouldn't know about you, given all that you've done.
That's a really, really good question. I feel like there's kind of a lot of maybe a lot of surprising facts, but but then again, this might not be that surprising. I am like a really huge nerd. Like I was first, I'm like, at first I'm like, maybe that's so weird. Like people don't know, but I mean, I've just talked about environmental science and animation for like 10 minutes. So of course, I feel like that's a little bit obvious, but yeah, I love like cosplaying and Dungeons and Dragons and anime and books and video games and comics and like all of that. That's my whole world outside of the work that I do. So if you like ever need like cool recommendations for, I don't know, like stuff like any sort of new movies or shows, or to get into, or like my head canons for my favorite characters or something, then I'm here. Like that's me.
I love
Again, I
that.
realize that's not that surprising in hindsight.
I love that. I love that. That is fantastic. I'd love to know your favorite One Green Thing. Thank you so much for being part of One Green Thing, the book, and One Green Thing, the movement, and being on the board. Just love to know like what brings you joy. What's a favorite One Green Thing that you have?
I think my favorite One Green Thing, there are honestly so many, so I have to boil it down. But in general, just I feel like the most effective One Green Thing that I tell people, in my life, especially when I'm speaking at, schools or university, or anywhere, and it's people who are really trying to figure out where to start, you really need to make it personal. Like, I think that's the best, that's the best One Green Thing. Anyone who's starting on their sustainability or activism journey, whether it's, again, implementing environmentalism into your lifestyle, or implementing it into turning it into something bigger or a platform, you have to make it personal. You can't just kind of just see what's out there and see how you can become that. You have to go inside and figure out what already matters to me in general, in everyday life, in my community, my interests or hobbies, or just whatever it is. There is a 99% chance that will connect to environment and climate in some way, because it's so all encompassing. So whether that is art, or it's the ocean, or it's food, or it's fashion, or it's music, or it's it doesn't matter, it's writing, it could be anything. You can already utilize what you care about, or the issues that are affecting your community, or whatever it is, in a way that helps already make an impact. Like you're already in the climate space, we're all literally in the climate space. It's just about kind of taking control of how you want to show up. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, this is so like overwhelming. Like, where do I start? Start literally where you are already, and just figure out how to naturally interweave it. Don't force it to be something you're not. Don't add all the 5,000 talking points if that's not something you can personally speak to. Like, that's the thing. I think also people underestimate the power of lived experience as well, which is what so many marginalized communities especially have and need to have amplified more. So that one green thing is is make it personal. That's fine.
Absolutely. That is a great one. Make it personal, find out what you're good at, what you're interested in, what you can speak to through your lived experience. And you can be a driver of culture change like
Yeah.
you are, Maya, but like all of us are in our community, starting where we are. I love that. I just have two more quick questions for you. I know how busy you are. Thank you so much. The first is, we talk a lot about at One Green Thing and in my book and in my writing, this idea of being a good ancestor, this idea of an awesome ancestor is actually what I call it. I'd love to know, is there a mentor, an ancestor, a family member, someone in history that's really inspired you?
I mean, it's so much because, I am the product too. Like I do come by it honestly. Like, my mom, when she was young, her and her mom, my grandmother, planted an organic garden in their, in their backyard. And so, when after my mom, had me, we planted an organic garden in our backyard. And like it's things like that they're passed down. And my dad, when he was a teenager, he was actually working on solar energy projects and getting like that's for science fairs and getting awards from like NASA and stuff for it. So we're all kind of had that consciousness around, the importance of sustainability and being in harmony with the natural world. And I think I just kind of, took that and my love for nature and ran with it. But if any outside of just my family and my parents, I think that growing up in Georgia, I've always been surrounded by, basically one of the heart of the civil rights activism community and movement. And I've had the immense honor of learning and meeting and getting advice and even honors from, some of the greatest titans within civil rights activism and people who are also carrying on that legacy, such as the late incredible, John Lewis, all the way to Evelyn Lowry, which actually recently made a post about her engagement and involvement in the birth of environmental justice movement, as well as her husband as well. And Bernice King, who Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s daughter, and how she's been carrying on that legacy as well. And she's also been vocal about environmental justice and how that connects. So I think that, for me, I've definitely had that influence throughout my work. And there's that inherent connection between environmental issues and equality and racial justice and gender justice and everything in between. So I think that's, something that's been really, part of my upbringing because it's weaved into the fabric of where I live as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's so important when we talk about, racial justice as climate justice. Climate intersects all of these issues, and young people,
Yeah,
especially, as you know very well, Maya, because it's your lived experience, see that climate intersects things. A lot of times in sustainability, there are people who are like, well, I do corporate ESG, or, I do endangered species protection, or I do environmental justice, or I do environmental health, or no, I'm a water quality expert. When it's all related, it's all tied together. The same with and it connects to social justice, it connects to housing, it connects to healthcare, it connects to civil rights. It's all connected. And so
exactly. Yeah,
and
and
so
also being someone who is like a multi hyphenate too, because I'm certified by University of Cambridge Business School in circular economy and sustainable business, and so I also do like ESG consulting, and then also like I'm doing my animated projects. I'm speaking and helping with putting together curriculum around upcycling fashion, or like there's so many different areas that I'm like a part of and been working with for so many years. And it literally is just like we say, it's literally all interconnected. It's not like they're their own separate like islands over here. We're all together in the same fight and working towards the same goals. So that's what's really cool about the space as well.
and I think that's something for older generations to understand about the future of work and how we define ourselves. right? Is that
Yeah.
they're multi-hyphenate. I love that. Like that's who we all are, and that's what the future of work is going to be. And there's a lot of excitement to that. And so I have just one final question. It's kind of a heavy one, Maya, but it doesn't have to be, but it's really kind of in the book and in my work, I always ask people to try to think about honoring someone from the past and bring it forward. In the Ghanaian tradition, it's this idea of Sankofa. I learned that from Pandora Thomas, kind of bringing that forward. But I would love to then kind of pivot and ask you, what would you like your legacy to be? When you think about being an awesome ancestor, like what do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, with what you also just spoke to, it's definitely not a heavy question for me. I think it's a very hopeful question. And it's also a question that I think, especially like a lot of people think about like in the Black community, because we're always trying to figure out how to bridge a lot of the gaps, and just a lot of marginalized communities in general. We're always trying to figure out how to bridge a lot of, equity and equality gaps, and what we can leave behind to help, our community. So that's actually something that I've always thought about, from a young age. And for me, I really, and of course that's probably going to ever evolve as I get older, but I really want to have a legacy that, it empowers people, that it shows people that we can do it, that hope and joy are incredible tools for resistance and resilience. And also I want to be able to, you know, build tangible, tools and solutions for some of the most important problems that are facing our world and our environment. I want to be able to not just only inspire people, but also whether it's, whether it is informational or physical or financial, whatever the resources are. I'm making it super vague because I know that I'm gonna have like 500 additional ideas. Like,
It's Maya's ideas after all, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
It's Maya's ideas. Like whether it's through my nonprofit or my art or through my businesses, like I really want to be able to create tangible platforms and communities and, resource centers where people can actually strengthen and further their work in a really tangible way. And it's accessible to as many people around the world as possible as well. I don't want it to just be stuck in one specific community or echo chamber, to where it can't, escape and impact the lives of people who have never even thought about touching climate, never even thought about touching environmental justice or sustainability or ESG or anything like that. So I don't know. That was extremely vague, but either way, it's going to be something that's also has a really strong creative spirit as well. And again, can tangibly and emotionally impact and strengthen, people of all ages and their work and whatever their journey is, to also help make the world like less horrible.
thank you, thank you, thank you, Maya. Hope and joy as instruments of resilience. I think you also talk a lot about imagination. These
Yes.
are really important words for legacy. And I love that you say you want it to be grounded, not just in inspiration, but in concrete solutions and connections and platforms for people to make that change. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being a hero for all of us. And we look forward to following you. It's kind of the last thing, how can people learn more about you? mayasideas.com. Can you tell us your Twitter handle and Instagram handle as well?
Yes, well, thank you so much again for this amazing interview. And I love all of your questions. And I'm really honored to be a part of the One Green Thing board and movement, and in the book as well. You can learn more about me and my work at mayasideas.com. That's where also you can find my sustainable fashion. You can find also more information about my nonprofit and just myself in general. All of my handles on all of my social media is just at Maya's Ideas. So MAYASIDEAS. So if you just look up Maya's Ideas or Maya Penn, you should be able to find me. And also my movie Asali, Power of the Pollinators. If you want to learn more about that, you can just go to Asali, that's ASALI dot movie, Asali.movie. And you can also find more about that and the socials through the website.
Fantastic. And I'll be sure to include that in the text around our interview in the newsletter. Thank you so much, Maya. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah.